Well, friends, it looks like we have some possibly breaking news here in the Star Trek-osphere, or whatever you want to call it. According to TrekMovie.com, and first and foremost, big thank you and shout out to my friend Dustin over at Best of Trek for basically letting me know this news had dropped today. But coming over here to Trek Movie exclusive, Scott Bakula, who is apparently a vampire according to certain shows, is eyeing a Star Trek return in President Archer series, a pitch from Enterprise producer. And as you can see here, we have a couple of different Bakulas, or Bakula, as I've heard some people pronounce it. And this is by Anthony Pascal, published probably a couple of hours ago. At least that's when it was first brought to my attention. So let's dig into this, because I've glanced ahead and this is actually a fairly long and meaty article compared to a lot of the almost no context news we've had in the past. It's been 20 years since Captain Jonathan Archer and the crew of the NX-01 returned to space dock for the series finale of Star Trek Enterprise, which is a holodeck program, so it doesn't actually matter or exist in canon of the show. Wrapping up a 4-season run on UPN, I may have paraphrased there. It was the franchise's last network TV series. Since that time, series star Scott Bakula has kept busy, leaping from one job to another, starring in the CBS procedural NCIS Nolans for 7 seasons. But it turns out he has kept an eye on his time and space and kept in touch with veteran writer-producer Michael Sussman, whose Star Trek writing credits include 10 episodes of Voyager, 22 episodes of Enterprise, and nothing else because I didn't put the and where it belongs, where he also served as a producer on more than 70, that's 70 episodes. Ahead of his appearance on Trek Movies, Does Canon Matter? And if so, when? A panel on Saturday at the Star Trek Las Vegas Trek to Vegas convention. Sussman spoke exclusively with Trek Movie. I wanted to say .com, but it doesn't say that. Trek Movie hard stop, about a series concept he has been developing with Scott Bakula over the last couple of years. Bakula himself will also be at STLV for a Sunday main stage panel in a rare convention appearance. Is it rare or is it uncommon? Is it silver or is it gold? According to Sussman, sorry, that was a Magic the Gathering joke that probably nobody got. According to Sussman, the idea of Bakula returning to the franchise began a few years ago while Star Trek Picard was streaming on Paramount. The show wrapped up in 2023 under showrunner Terry Matalas himself, a veteran of Star Trek Enterprise. At that time, in an email exchange with Bakula, Sussman first joked, "How soon are we going to see Star Trek Archer, leader of the Gorgonites, on Paramount Plus?" Then quickly realized he actually had an idea based on some seeds. Space seeds? Planted 2 decades before in Enterprise. And Bakula was intrigued. He immediately glommed onto it. Glommed is not a word you see that often in professional writings like this, so I'm going to give him a little kudos for that. Sussman tells Trek Movie. Cool, I put some big thoughts into the world and lose my place in the sentence. The Seed was based on the last episode Sussman wrote for the franchise, In a Mirror, Darkly, Part 2. From late in the show's 4th season, the episode was set in the Mirror Universe and featured Bakula playing Archer's Mirror Universe doppelganger, who at one point had access to a Starfleet database from the future on board the USS Defiant, not the one that's popping into your head, and looked up his Prime Universe counterpart in a graphic seen by viewers as well. And also in some of those graphics was the death of Hoshi, which they thankfully did not show on screen, so again, not canon as far as I'm concerned. According to Sussman, it occurred to me that someone on the writing staff, not the art department, needed to write the graphics. Somebody needed to think about this, right? This was going to be a graphic that spelled out Archer's life and career after the series ended. Knowing the franchise was going into a freezer for a spell, Sussman outlined Archer's future aware the graphic might be fully visible on the finished episode, and therefore Trek canon. In the end, it was. And it did. Get away, Progresso. Thinking back to this episode was sort of a eureka moment, not the TV show. That was Colin Ferguson. For the writer-producer, language here. I actually have an idea for a series going back to that view screen graphic that I planted all those years earlier, says Sussman. The key is that on Enterprise, Sussman established that Archer, after retiring as an admiral, left Starfleet to go into politics and eventually rose to president of the United Federation of planets. And here, if you want to take a look, is the historical archive of Starfleet personnel with a bunch of the little tidbits of Archer's life that they're going into. So if you want to take a look at that, feel free. Star Trek United? The show would revolve around Archer's time as president, with Sussman likening it to shows like The West Wing, Homeland, and The Diplomat? Added a question mark where there shouldn't be one. It's a political thriller and a family drama set in those chaotic, formative years of the Federation. Sussman began outlining ideas for the potential series, working with Bakula, who liked the idea of a different take on the character. We did 98 hours of Enterprise because they couldn't just let him have 100 for that sweet syndication deal, and as such, we've had practically no Enterprise in anything ever since. Not that it probably would have anyways, but again, I digress because there was a lot more to see here. And I think he felt he really explored the character, but this was a very different direction for Archer to go in, and I think he was really intrigued by that. Sussman and Bakula even have a title ready, Star Trek United, though they also considered dropping the colon and going with Star Trek United, : The real ones know. With that approach, Sussman explains that I just skipped a whole paragraph. For a more mature show. Looking to the recent success the Star Wars... Wait, hold on. I'm going to backtrack here because it says, the idea would be for a more mature show looking to the recent success the Star Wars franchise had with this approach. All right, I'll let them get into that. One of my aspirations would be that the series could do for what Andor did for Star Wars. As great as everybody seems to think Andor is, I'm kind of getting sick of everything under the sun being compared to, this is like Andor for that franchise. I don't like the fact that it's becoming such a benchmark already, but, again, I digress. So a couple of years ago, with the approval of Scott Bakula, Sussman took the Star Trek United concept to Secret Hideout, Alex Kurtzman's production company, which makes all the streaming Star Trek series for CBS Studios and Paramount Plus, Justice for Prodigy, and Joe Carey. The writer-producer says he didn't present a complete formal series proposal, describing it more as a high-level overview, outlining the idea to the executives to see if they were interested in full official presentation. According to Sussman, he was prepared for a follow-up pitch, which would have included a plot, story arcs, and episode ideas. Are we getting close to the end here? Because I want to give some just general thoughts. Sussman says the meetings went well. I'm going to try to skip over a little bit here because, good Lord, this is a lot. Skydance hopes, let's see, they've continued to work on it, keeping it alive with the whole Skydance merger going on. Speaking to the media yesterday, the new president, David Ellison, talks about a new focus on streaming. Oh yeah, that whole Star Trek Year One concept. Simon Pegg, here's some more Bakula. All right, more to come on Star Trek United at STLV. Mike will be joining the Trek Movie Does Canon Manor panel in the lounge on Sunday. Wanted to say Sunday, but it's Saturday at 11:30 a.m. And this is just going back to some more stuff. Sunday at 3:30 in the Leonard Nimoy Theater. Scott Bakula himself has a panel on the main stage. All right, so I guess technically we're not really talking more about the series. Star Trek Archer, Star Trek United, Star Trek whatever. So for a long time, I really wanted them to delve into what happened after Enterprise in some fashion, maybe not a fifth season, but personally, my opinion on what they would have done or could have done would be to set it in real time since the series ended. Obviously, bring back as many of the original characters who you could get, actors, I should say, and basically, I thought that you could have either an Admiral or President Archer at this time, but you could still have a ship out there, and my idea was to have the first fully integrated ship of Starfleet, complete with Tellarites, Andorians, Vulcans, humans, whatever other species, Denobulans, I guess you could say, that they wanted to throw in the mix. And I want Shran in this no matter what. Now, if it's going to be like all West Wingy and it's going to be all set in I was going to say the White House, but I don't know, San Francisco somewhere, wherever the president resides in this universe, I want it to have Shran as a very high-end component. So if it's going to be set there, I originally wanted him to be captain of this integrated ship, but I think it would make perfect sense if they're going to do it this way, to have Shran as, I don't know, the chief of staff or somebody that's constantly there butting heads with Archer, but we get that awesome dynamic. I also think that Trip should just be in the series, or at least spoken to, guest starring, whatever. And there's no real need to explain that he didn't die because that didn't happen. Just have him there. Have it be a joke. Don't explain it. Maybe you can throw in a couple references like when Shax died in Lower Decks. Just be like, hey, Trip, I haven't seen you in so long. I thought you were dead. Haha, anyways. Or have Trip mention, oh, I met a koala that one time. That was weird, wasn't it? Sorry for all you Southerners out there. That was probably offensive, but my family's from Texas, so I've never been personally. Wow, am I just rambling today? Probably because I was supposed to do a Strange New Worlds episode review, but I'm doing this instead. If you're still watching at the probably 10-minute mark at this point, what do you think of this news? Do you want to see more from this world of Star Trek Enterprise? Do you think a political show with Archer and Bakula and maybe a few handfuls of people that we've seen before? Do you think that would work? Do you think this more mature tone that they're trying to liken it to and or is the right move, or do you want it to be something else? Do you think it has any reality of actually existing based on what's going on with the merger and the fact that they haven't really announced anything new whilst that was going on? I'm not sure what the state of Star Trek is anyway, but let's just assume everything's still going forward and they are capable of making new shows, green-lighting new things, whatever. Would this be something you want to see, or do you think this is maybe something that is a little too outside the realm of the Star Trek you like and enjoy? Personally, it's not something I would have expected them to do, I suppose. I always thought they should or would do something with Star Trek Enterprise, and I always said that they could always do genre types of shows, like a medical drama in Star Trek or a legal drama. They're already trying to do the comedy Parks and Rec sort of route with Tawny Newsom's thing. It's definitely not something they can't explore. I only worry that if there's not a real flagship show going at the same time, if there isn't an equivalent of a Strange New Worlds or Star Trek Legacy where there's a ship exploring out there, this needs to be the type of supplemental material you get with a real hardcore Star Trek show. Otherwise, people might be a little too disinterested in checking out something while there's no other Star Trek on. Again, maybe that's just personal feelings, but I always feel like there should be one mainstay show, and then you can do these more fun experimental things on the side to just add to the universe, so you're kind of getting a bunch of the best of both worlds? Anyways, leave all your thoughts down below. This was probably a horrendous video to sit through, but thank you for doing it. While you're there, like, share, subscribe, join, do all those fancy YouTube things. But until next time, oh boy.